(2023) Mother Gaia, third dimensional planet, ascending into fourth dimensional collective consciousness. Azure.
Grand Rising Captain.
Can you give me the update on third dimensional planet Gaia?
Yes, Christo, with pleasure. Gaia 3D currently is under critical condition. It seems there is a large amount of humans that have forgotten who they are, causing confusion, division and war driven by fear.
Thank you, Azure. Before we head down to Gaia, can you give me any information about the 3D world, as it's been a while since I've been there?
Sure, the 3D Gaia. We will face much resistance from negative polarity beings as a dual plane. Karma and Dharma are in effect. There is free will. It will be wise to protect our energy and hold love.
Alright, thank you, Azure. Sounds like we have quite the task at our hands. But that's why we're here, and that's why we've been called upon in the Galactic Federation to go down to planet Gaia, the 3D realm. Alright, Azure, let's get ourselves ready to go. Let's hit the time portal and make sure we land in the present day, Mother Gaia, third dimension. Whoa, oopsies. Yeah, not that one. Okay, let's try this one. Maybe this is the portal. Oh yeah, Azure, this is a little too far in the future. I think we need to kind of go back a little bit. There we go. Perfect. Modern day Earth.
Captain Christo, as we approach, I will prepare our guest suite on the mothership for the souls we hold space for. Oh, and Captain, I will be sure to leave plenty of storage for earthly food delights to take for our travels.
Oh my gosh, Azure, you never fail to make me laugh. You know those earthly delights, that good old food of earth. Absolutely gotta have that food of earth. Thank you, Azure. Alright. It is time. It's time to make our way down to 3D Gaia. To hold space, show love, compassion, bridge the conscious collective, and help provide knowledge and wisdom and tools so fellow souls can remember who they are, live in a unified mind state with a harmonious being, with holistic, conscious practices and tools that they may access efficiently and quantumly.
Welcome aboard. I am Azure. Please get cozy. Grab a tea, snacks or crystals as we prepare for a sacred light conversation. The sacred holding space is down the hall to the left. Wholeness, balanced love.
Azure! Hey.
Grand day, Captain.
Well, first of all, Azure, what is taking so long with those cookies that I asked for? And number two, now that we have our sacred guest from planet Earth that is here to share their story, their wisdom and knowledge for the rest of the tribe, can you go ahead and pull up their background and go ahead and share with the rest of the tribe a little bit about our sacred guest on this coming episode?
Christo, I had to get more cookies from the store they call Whole Foods on Earth during our stop with your diet. 2 minutes on the timer. Our sacred guest, Lisa Kavanagh, based out of Ontario, Canada. Lisa is an intuitive energy therapist, certified hypnotist and regressionist, and a Reiki master teacher. She is also an active member of the National Guild of Hypnotists since 2019. Practicing for 8 years, Lisa received her first-level Reiki certification in 2014 and master's in 2017. She graduated in 2012 with high honors from Centennial College's Addiction Studies program with a certificate in counseling skills.
Gracias, Azure. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I cannot wait for those cookies. I'm so glad you got them. I appreciate it. Thank you for expecting my diet. And they should be ready in just a moment. Just in time for the podcast. How perfect and divine timed. And for everybody else, to the rest of the tribe, get cozy and enjoy this Sacred Light conversation with Lisa Kavanagh out of Ontario, Canada, as we'll be exploring hypnosis, holistic healing, and how to be conscious and self-aware of your energy field. Feel free to leave comments and feedback. Wholeness, balanced love.
Chocolate chip cookies.
I will literally do something and I'll know that I need to be there at a certain time, and then I'll get there, and then I'll be doing it, and then I'll just lose track of time again after that, and then I'll do it, and then I'm done, and then I'll be like, wait a minute, what is today?
Yeah, no, I'm like that.
Oh, I thought today was Friday. It felt like a Friday, but it's Tuesday. And I'm just
I know, I'm like that too. Where it's always I seem to I never have enough time, but I feel like I have all the time and then I don't. And it's like, what just happened? Yeah. I know.
Yeah, it's interesting. We start exploring the dimension of time and space.
Yeah.
And it is interesting. It's the more that you focus your mental energy on time, it's it speeds it up.
Uh-huh.
But then the more you detach your mental from time, it then brings you into a slower density.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I find I'm not aware of time the way I used to be, where an hour felt like an hour. Now, if I'm not consciously, let's say, paying attention to the actual time, I don't know how long I've been doing things. Do you know what I mean? And that's particularly, it can be very inconvenient when you're doing sessions, because I lose all track of time when I'm with a client, and it's kind of I have to keep myself on a schedule, and it can be difficult for me because I'm not. I don't know if it's I don't want to be involved with this time business anymore, so I'm kind of refusing to try to pay too much attention to it, or I don't know what it is. I resent it, maybe. The time having to be told, having to adhere to these timelines or something. I don't really know what it is, but
Yeah,
I'm not anchored the way I used to be in it.
we are going through rapid change,
Yeah.
rapid change.
Mm.
And with that rapid change comes great levels of, shedding layers and going through replayed experiences, and also, feeling emotions and other things as well. And with that, it's really a perfect way to segue into kicking off our podcast, which is going to be about shedding density. And for everybody that are tapped in and here to watch this episode, Sacred Light Conversation, I'm your host, Marcus Christolight. And a little bit about myself, just for everybody out there that doesn't know me yet. I am a Reiki practitioner. I'm also crystal healing certified. I also teach and help with balancing the chakras. I do light language activations, oracle card readings, and I also help with shadow integration and developing conscious habits and patterns. And I do life coaching as well. So along with all these practices that I deliver and offer, I also do my own editing and producing. I have online TV shows. I have this podcast, Sacred Light Conversations, and I've guided meditations on my YouTube channel as well. With all of this, my core intention of why I do what I do, and the reason why I dedicate myself so passionately to holding these spaces, is because I want to bridge community. I want to give the world opportunities to be able to not only connect in a more efficient and more easier way with knowledge, tools, wisdom, as well as human connection and stories through various different resources, such as, podcasts, through services, through workshops, and other things as well. And with that, just really also want to emphasize helping people become aware of their power within their own self, the tools that they can access on the daily, and really just how powerful we are in our own innate sovereignty, and being able to bring harmony and balance to our everyday life. So that's me. That's why I do what I do. Sacred Light is something I created in 2018. And that was when I got started with my journey of serving Reiki and meditation, as well as the podcast and much more. So today on this podcast episode of Sacred Light Conversations, we're going to be joined by our sacred guest. And she actually joined us back in 2019 when I first started Sacred Light Conversations. And our sacred guest, Lisa Kavanagh, she is out of Toronto, Canada. And she first got certified in Reiki in 2014. And then in 2017, she became a Reiki master. Since then, she has been doing attunements and teaching Reiki to other students. She is also a high honor graduate at the Centennial College Addiction Studies program, and that was in 2012. Lisa is also certified as a hypnotist and a regressionist, and is also an active member of the National Guild of Hypnotists since 2019. Currently, Lisa is collaborating and providing her services at 2 local spots out in Canada, and the first one being Equilibria, and that is in Toronto, and the second is Live to Thrive in Port Perry. And then on top of all of this, she has much experience in clinicals with addiction, eating disorders, and post-distress orders as well.
Mhm.
So Lisa, very passionately, over her years, has blended and mixed together all these different practices from the mainstream to her own authentic, intuitive side and the holistic side as well, and has been blending them and nicely delivering and serving them to many different clients around the world, and mainly based in Canada as well. So today we're going to be talking on some key topics such as dismantling and what the process of dismantling fear-based beliefs and intentions and identities can look like, as well as the integration process of integrating your higher self-awareness. And then we'll also be touching on moving through Ascension with more ease, self-love, and support. So without further ado, Lisa, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Marcus. It's like we were talking just a little bit before we got started about how it's been 4 years and how 2019 does not feel 4 years ago to me. It feels like we've been in some kind of void space, because to me it feels like maybe a year and a half ago, maybe. But it's just interesting how quickly things are moving, how quickly we're moving through things now. And certainly we've been through a lot collectively over the last 4 years, but things are really, I feel like, intensifying now. So with that intensification, if we think about the way I kind of, with the dropping density, the way I think about it is, if the earth, so the grid system in the earth, right, the ley lines of the earth, right, we're connected into those ley lines. So the earth is shifting energetically. And I don't know, Marcus, if you've noticed where you are, but the last summer, especially, the skies, sunsets and things were much more vibrant in colors, with purples and pinks. And it's like the earth has come online. It's much more green. It's alive again. It feels like the earth is alive. And because the earth's shifting in consciousness. And we look at kind of the macro to the micro as the earth shifts, people who are open to that are shifting. You are, whether you know you're shifting or you don't, you are, right? And whether that's an intention of yours or it's just happening, right? And I feel like with that kind of shifting, you embody more of who you truly are. You embody more light. And we think of light, right? Light is information, right? And that's opening up. For me, it's like opening up the cellular expression, the DNA, it's activating people. And I feel like to embody more light, more consciousness, you have to drop density. It's like a natural purging starts to happen. And so this kind of process of dropping density can feel really uncomfortable. It can feel chaotic. You can feel overwhelmed. You can feel sad. You can feel depressed. You can feel anxious. And, a lot of people, I think, they come on, especially if they consider themselves spiritual, or they come on to kind of the ascension path, or they consider themselves to be awake or awakening, or whatever language resonates. I think we've been misled to believe that it should be this beautiful, blissful, peaceful, just kind of floating away, right? Like magical kind of experience. And it's kind of that idea of good vibes only, right?
Oh yeah.
Good vibes only. I only want to be around people who are positive. And it's kind of this idea that to feel negative is somehow not accepted, or it's bad, right? And also this idea that when people are struggling, right? we're going through things, because we have to go through these things to kind of to drop the density and to come back into who we truly are. But if when you're going through maybe more challenging or difficult period where there's a lot more discomfort and a lot of sorrow can be coming up, and a lot of things that you kind of have been pushed down, like even childhood stuff is coming up, that somehow you're negative or you're attracting negativity to you. And I think there's a real difference between being kind of in that kind of love and light bubble and truly being in this kind of allowing the kind of authentic unfolding of the process, which can look and feel uncomfortable, right? Physically, mentally, and emotionally. And often when I'm working with clients lately, and I've noticed a real theme, I would say, this last year in particular, it seems more of a common theme, and they're coming in and they're saying, I feel like I'm backsliding. I feel like I'm moving, I'm kind of regressing. I thought consciously I was so much far ahead, and all this stuff is coming up, and I feel I'm reacting to things again, and I'm feeling all this stuff, and I feel like I'm losing myself. And I'm kind of like, well, no, things more, it's another layer of stuff coming up, and you have to allow it and feel it and go through it. And you have to feel the triggers, you have to feel it, right? You can't mask it with positivity, because that'll just keep it stuck. You'll just be stuck there. And I say to them, if you came in here and told me that you were fantastic and every day was, you had everything figured out and you felt your emotions were, in this kind of high vibrational state constantly, I would say to you, I would wonder what was wrong, what's gone wrong. I wonder what has gone wrong in this process, right? Because it's a lot. And I think a lot of us we get into this new age stuff because we're looking for the information, and then we get sold, or we used to get sold this idea that it's all yoga, it's all being a vegan, it's all, crystals, and it's all like it's like the image of what it is to be spiritual. And I would say everyone is spiritual. The guy who works at the mechanic down the road, who what I mean is, it doesn't necessarily do yoga and do all that, but he's very in tune, he's highly empathetic, he's sensitive, he's spiritual. But I don't think we need all of this, I don't know, the accessorization of it to be spiritual. And I mean, I'm not taking away anything from people who are vegan.
Exactly.
But it's not one size fits all, and you don't have to check the boxes to be considered spiritual. What you have to do, I think, is where's your intention, right? Do you have pure intentions? Are you willing to do the work? Are you self-aware? Do you have genuine empathy and compassion for others? You know what I mean? Do you kind of have this kind of wishing to be better, to help, to be of service to, the collective, to humanity? That's definitely spiritual. And I don't care what you look like, or I don't care what you eat or don't eat, or I don't care how much yoga you do or breath work. You know what I mean? And I think when you kind of come onto this path to embody more of who you truly are, we got to drop the density that has been in the way. And that's messy, and it's uncomfortable, and you can feel like you're on this roller coaster of, one day you're like, yeah, I feel it, everything, I feel like I'm on my path, and I feel really inspired or whatever. And then the next day it's like you wake up and you're like kind of flat, or you're feeling all this stuff coming up, or all this self-doubt, or you're kind of like feeling lost, or or you're feeling a lot of resentment or irritation is coming up around, certain dynamics or people. And that's what it is, I feel. It's like you got to be able to allow the dirt to rise to the surface, all the gunk, all the distorted energetic patterns and belief systems, and all the conditioning. And it's painful. It can be painful, or just uncomfortable, right? Even when I say the word painful, oh, should I be saying painful? Well, it's painful. Painful. You feel deeply. right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot sometimes. And I feel like in this juncture, because there's so much it's so rapid in the earth, this ascension, this kind of consciousness rising, it's accelerated so much that we're being pushed now. I feel there's an acceleration of a lot of us to get this density out, right? Get this stuff moving out to embody more light. Because I also think that I don't care what you do, but just by being here at this time, it's almost like, and someone described it, and I thought it was a perfect analogy. It was actually Lisa Renee. She has energetic synthesis, and she was describing how, I honestly has saved my life. But she talks about how we're all kind of like, think about us as being like these little acupuncture needles all around the globe. And we're embodying light. We're anchoring light through our physical body and bringing it into the earth grid, right? And so, you know, the more we release this density, we shed these old layers, the more light we can hold. And we also the more light we hold, the more we can infect other people with that light, if they're open to it, just by showing up. We don't have to be doing anything. We just have to be in the room, and we can help, right? Affect people in a way. We can even be a very stabilizing, neutralizing energy. We can be a safe person. We can help people decompress just by being in the room, right? So it transcends what we do, and it's who we are. And right, which is this whole dismantling process, getting away from all the labels, all the identities, all this idea of our worth has been based on external things, you know, what we have, what we achieve, how we look. And we start to get back to the truth, which is natural law, which is your worth is inherent. You are worthy because you are, period. Right? But we forget that. And we get all mired. But I think at the root of all this we hold all these distortions and these false identities and everything. And at the root of them all, it's fear. All fear. At the root of everything, it's fear. It's a fear of not being accepted. It's fear of being left behind. It's fear of being abandoned. It's fear of not being lovable. It's fear of, you know, not having enough. These are the reasons that we cling to these identities, right? And we all have different reasons, and we all have different, I think, things we've been through that kind of make us cling on to these kind of constructs, right? But at the heart of it, it's always fear. I think at the heart of every distortion, it's fear, because when you know your worth, you're in a state of, right, love, self-love. You know who you are. Yeah. When you are looking for that external validation and you're trying to prove your worth constantly based on the external, or looking for validation constantly for people to validate your worthiness, you're in fear. And that fear will act as a real strong barrier from you coming into who you truly are, right? And that's where you're powerful. That's where you have your freedom and sovereignty, and that's when you embody more light. I'm not saying that, and there's no perfection in this. It's a process, but I feel you're doing the best you can, and you continue to kind of move along. And personally, for me, there's no kind of end. There's no end goal. It just, things come up as they come up. And sometimes they'll come up and you think, I thought I already released this stuff. I thought this was kind of over, but then there's another layer that will come up, right? And it can happen too. I tell people, certainly clients that I work with, that it can be it's a very organic process, and your higher self, your God self, your, you know, avatar self, whatever you want to call it, right, has that wisdom. It knows what you're ready for when you're ready for it. And sometimes we can't release it all at once because it would be too overwhelming to our physical body, our emotional body, and we just don't have the capacity for it. But it will come back around then, and then there'll be another layer to look at, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's so awesome that you describe it this way, because it's actually a very similar way that I've described it, and I haven't really came across many that really talk about it in this type of way. But the process of healing, and this is actually why I created a online show that I created last year,
right?
And it was during the winter time, called The Process of Clearing Layers. And the reason why I called it that is because I was just having like a download and going into like a really deep thought about making like a live, and I was gonna go live for like just one time, and I was gonna go live talking about just my view and anything that channeled through me about just the holistic process of what healing looks like from a micro to macro level.
Yeah.
And with that, just really like explaining the process of remembering how we're energetic beings, and how we go through experiences, we accumulate energy from those experiences, and then that energy quantumly gets entangled into our being, and then it turns into layers of energy. Then it becomes density within the being, and then within these layers is where we have the memories, the energies, and anything else that is going to be coming with that experience that took place.
Right.
And then it's going to be stored within our being.
Yes.
And then from there, it results into physical ailments, such as lower back problems, stress in your shoulders, things like that.
Right.
And then continuing on, basically, when you get into the healing process, you start to open up and dig into these layers that have been accumulated into your being energetically. And with that, that means you start basically cracking open and opening up these memories, these energies, these experiences that are already within your being now. So now what you're experiencing is instead of the external coming in, you're experiencing the internal of what was already external that you experienced and has now been accumulated, now coming back basically reverse, the opposite direction, to basically come back out, back to the external. So that's why we experience what seems like taking steps backwards, because these memories and experiences that we had already experienced from the external in are now coming back up from the internal to the external. And if we're not aware of that, we can get caught up in it, and then the energies become entangled, and it either creates a further buryment, or creates a even possible trauma experience, so much more things. But that was like the way that I've been able to explain it and really see it. So it was really nice to hear that from you.
Well, I feel like, and another thing I really feel strongly about is, if you think about the word emotions, it literally means energy in motion, right? So when you've got, your life force is flowing optimally, it's coming down that central vertical channel and feeding into the energy centers of the body. Life force is flowing. That means then the body, the systems in the body, the glands, the organs are getting the life force they need to function optimally, right? So, and then you're in what we call, I guess that's alignment. You're aligned. Life force is flowing emotionally, mentally, physically. You are in alignment. You're balanced. You're in alignment with who you truly are. That's right. If everything is perfect or the way it should.
Kind of like is it kind of like a spiritual homeostasis?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah. So then what happens to us, right? Well, we feel things, and we are taught, we're conditioned, never feel bad. Don't feel bad. So it's kind of like, is this idea that if you feel negative, you are somehow negative. A lot of this masking, you know how, let's say you go through something that's really, really upsetting, but it doesn't qualify. Like when you have to work in the morning and it's somebody in your family didn't die, and it's not, so it doesn't qualify for you to take time off work, or you don't feel it's worthy of maybe calling in sick or whatever. And so you go into work, and what do? You mask, right? You pretend that you're okay, or try to pretend you're okay, because you don't want anyone to know that you're in pain, because that makes you vulnerable. Plus it makes you, can make you look weak. Like all of this garbage basically is teaching us to push our emotions down, right? And when we're children, especially, we don't have the emotional intelligence to understand always what we're feeling. We're feeling it, but we don't know why we're feeling it. And children take everything in, right? I think it's up until the age of 7, right. Children are like a computer with no software uploaded. And then through their experiences, and typically it's through what the authority figures around them, children are so vulnerable to, right, to your parents, your teachers, and they're also taught to be good means that, you know, you want to be good, so you follow the rules, and we take it all in as truth. And children absorb a lot of energy and emotions from people around them. So, and they don't have the capacity to process them. So if we look again at energy and motion, it means when we feel things, we allow the feeling, we sit in it, we process it, and it moves through us, fluid, life force flowing, and it's released. When we don't do that, like let's say an example would be, let's say you're someone who, for whatever reason, picked up the belief that what you think doesn't matter. You're afraid of conflict. You are afraid of being abandoned if you speak up, right? So all of this emotional stuff that you are afraid to, you're afraid to release, you're afraid to speak to other people, you're holding it all in your throat. And so that's like this energetic sludge, right? It's called actually dead energy. It creates distortions and like miasma, right? Which is just like this sludgy blockage stuff. And so over time, it will continue to build. And if you think about, right, so now you've got this sludge. Think of your energy body as a set of pipes or plumbing. Now you've got all this sludge in your throat, all this unprocessed emotional stuff. And now life force flow is trying to come down, and it can't, it's trickling through, it's all blocked up. Then what have you got there? You've got your thyroid, you have your lymph nodes, your neck, your spine. Those organs in that area are now not getting the life force flow they need to function optimally. So what happens? Over time, emotional dis-ease, this is stuff that's been unprocessed for whatever reason. A lot of the times it's we just don't have the capacity. Unprocessed stuff, right? Emotional dis-ease over time will manifest, as you said, Marcus, into physical dis-ease. So what we want to do is just in doing energy work, and you know this, and when I work with my clients, I do energy work as well, is we want to start to open those pathways up and get things moving, which means flushing it out, right? And a lot of the times that means it's got to come up to the surface to be felt, to be witnessed, to be felt, to be honored in your experience, and saying, yes, this really hurt me, not to judge it. That's where we get into trouble. If we start to judge it and we start to say, I'm not allowed to feel this, and are we looking for someone else to give us permission to feel the way we feel? That's when things get dicey. And it's not about the feeling. It's about how do we then respond to the feeling, right? So if you can be angry, but then it's about how do I react explosively, or do I, allow the anger, that anger charge to kind of, do I project that outward? Or can I sit with it and allow it and get it out in a way that is not projecting? Can I own that anger? And then can I choose, when things have calmed down and that charge has been neutralized, can I choose how I'm going to respond? Right? That's the difference. It's not the emotion, it's what we do with the emotion when they're charged emotions, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things, if we think about energy as just emotions, as just energy, there are different energetic frequencies. If we can take the label off of good and bad emotions, or positive and negative emotions, and we start to think of them as frequencies, and we start to look at them as high and low, right? And we don't judge them, I think that's really key in allowing a lot of this stuff to come up. Because if we're afraid to be angry, or we're afraid to feel depressed, and when I say be angry, what I really mean is feel angry. Feeling angry doesn't make you an angry person. Feeling depressed doesn't make you a depressed person. You're moving through an emotional state. And if you allow it to be processed and you release it, then you come back into that kind of balanced state again, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's like a really big thing that it's really easy for us to get caught up on as humans is, the identify. And when we identify, like really becoming finite with that identification,
Right.
as if it's like we are just solid, that one identity our whole entire lifespan. And the more I've been able to detach from that type of programming, I've been able to kind of remember and become more in tune with just the multi-dimensionality of who we are, and just becoming more aware of, not only are there multiple different bodies and layers to who we are, as in, physical body, mental body, emotional body, astral body, and others as well. We start to be able to kind of really start seeing how these different it's almost like different drawers to a cabinet, like each cabinet holds specific things that make the whole entire drawer. And that's how it is for me when I look at the mental, emotional, and physical. You can start seeing how there can be ways to kind of cater to each one and be able to help them harmonize and attune with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we are afraid or we're judging things, it can block the process, because we're not allowed to feel these negative emotions. Then they're going to stick, then we'll avoid them, right? If we think that being angry somehow makes us less evolved, you know what I mean? And it's not about the anger. It's about what we choose, how we choose to engage with that anger. Can you engage with a level of self-awareness? Can you sit with it and allow it? And can you do the self kind of introspection with it and say, okay, what am I really angry about? Because I would say 90% of the time, what you're really angry about is not actually what is presented itself in front of you. Usually it triggers this old belief of someone has disrespected me, someone has crossed a boundary, but there can also be that anger can also come from wounding, right? Places that we've been wounded that we haven't looked at or we haven't healed can trigger anger, and it can almost feel like the anger becomes disproportionate to what has actually just happened, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really important about sitting with it, saying, okay, why am I actually what part of this do I need to own? Right? And then what do I need to look at here? right? And, you know, why do I feel all of a sudden, let's say, threatened? Or why do I feel so triggered? Or why do I feel this feeling? And just sit with it, you know? And sometimes the anger can just be because you're angry because, you know, someone was inconsiderate or, you know, whatever, right? But I think it's important to go inward first and allow and do the introspection. You have to have the self-awareness. If you're not willing to look at yourself, you're not willing to own your emotions, then you're always going to be, I think, again, externalizing. Well, they did this to me. This is why. And it's almost like you become a victim. And there's a big difference between feeling your emotions, I think, and allowing your emotions to be charged to the point that they're running you. Big difference. I can feel it, right? And I can sit with it. Or I can allow the charge to get so strong that now I can't control my outer expression. Big difference, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like when we're talking about density, I think there's, like, as you were saying, the different bodies, there's just different levels. There can be even viral loads that we're holding cellularly as almost cellular waste. Let's say you had strep throat when you were a kid, and now you have maybe Epstein-Barr in your cells that is dormant, but it's there, and that acts as density because, you know, the body needs to process and release that. So even during this kind of ascension process, when we're dropping density, you can have physical symptoms. They sometimes call it ascension flu, or you can have aches and pains in your body, or old injuries, or old kind of viral stuff coming up as it's being released. You can feel very, very physically tired at times where you need a lot of rest. And then there's of course, the emotional density, right? And this is stuff that's happened in the past that hasn't been processed and released. And then there's the mental density, which is what I was talking about, is how do we identify, right? What are our limiting beliefs? You know, where are places that we've took on beliefs based out of fear, right? So all of this starts to push up to the surface, and it can feel very destabilizing, very uncomfortable. You can feel like you're on an emotional roller coaster, and you can feel very alone in it. You can feel very alone. And sometimes my clients will say, I feel like I'm going to lose my mind. Right? Because it's a lot. And I feel like if we can't be honest about this stuff, and we can't talk about it, and we whitewash it or wash it over with this beautiful kind of, you know, lemon light, you know, rainbows and unicorns and all that, I don't know, stuff, it can be harmful to people, I think, because then they think, oh, it can feed that distortion of I must be flawed in some way because I'm not even doing the spiritual stuff right.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
right?
you know, also add to that, you know, for presenting it that way, presenting it as in that there's no, like, that there's no tough times, that there's no, you know, pain that could be felt, that there could be
exhaustion,
you know,
that could be a part of it. And I'm not saying that it's all that, because it's certainly not all that, but there can be, at certain junctures, there can be a healthy amount of that. There can be a lot of that going on, right?
Yeah, and if we're not, you know, giving the full plate of, you know, what it is that, you know, people can be experiencing or getting themselves into, then I mean, there's so much that can come with that. You know, if we're not aware of, you know, the side effects, or, you know, the consequences of what it is that we're going to take action upon, and then, you know, those consequences take place and we didn't know, you know, it can create a very unpleasant experience to where it can then draw us away from desiring to ever want to experience something like that again.
Yeah.
because, you know, we were not really given the guidance
Right.
and the clarity of, you know, what all it takes to be upon this type of path and journey.
Feels so isolated, and there's not the inclusion. And I know for me, when I think about it, when we think of light, what is light? Information, truth, honesty, right? When I think of darkness, what is darkness? Deception. So if you are, kind of in a state of delusion or trying to project this image of what you think it means to be conscious, because that's what you've been told it should look like, and you're afraid to kind of talk about, or you don't have the space, or you don't have a sense of community, or you don't have a practitioner, or whatever it looks like, where you can really just be who you are and speak the truth, then you can get lost in distortion. And that can, and what's the kind of opposite of, it can make you feel separate, and that's the opposite of unity. The whole point of all of this is unity, and the whole point of it is to, I think, honor the richness and fullness of the human experience, which is having, feeling, going through, exploring all these different energetic states of emotion. That's what gives us the richness and fullness. That's what it is to be, I feel, at the essence of humanity, is the fullness and richness of the emotion and our capacity for empathy, unity, for all of those beautiful things. But if we were picking and choosing what's okay and what's not okay, I have a real problem. I have a real problem with that. And I think that it can be damaging. So I try to speak as honestly as I possibly can about what the process has felt like for me, and in what I've witnessed in working with, lots of clients. So, and it's, and I don't care how much yoga you do or don't do, or to me, it's what's your intention? Where are you coming from? What's your heart? Right?
Yeah. Intentions go a long way. Intentions are like our intentions are kind of like our it's like our etchers.
Well,
just like etchers are our pathway.
Well, the intention can direct the emotional charge of the energy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's how we direct. The intention can be kind of how we choose to direct our energy, what we wish to focus on, what we wish to feed, if you will, energetically, right? So I think intention is everything, really. Your intention can really, your intention at the core is kind of the orientation of your energy body.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so it can get heavy at times, and I feel like a lot of it's kind of like as your kind of conscious elevates, right? And this is natural. This doesn't necessarily have to have you aspiring for this. This is just happening to people, right? As they're embodying more light, they're connected into the earth, the light's coming down, that conscious information starts to open pathways up, and then all of a sudden they're in the ascension process. But it doesn't matter if they intended it or not, it's starting, right? And I feel like the more you embody the light, the more you become in alignment with who you truly are. And you naturally hold more light, but that density's got to come out. And all of the old beliefs, identities, perceptions that are all based in fear have to kind of be drawn up to the surface like a massive purge so you can look at it, right? And I'm just looking at my notes here. And sometimes it can feel, I don't know, like it can sometimes feel like there's that old analogy of, it can feel kind of darkest before the dawn at times.
Oh, yeah.
It's so true. But I will say that people who I guess would identify or feel deeply, who are highly empathetic, right? If we think about energy, emotions, empaths, what can they do? They're reading energy constantly. They can be absorbing energy constantly if they're not they haven't really formed strong boundaries, and there's a lot of energy transference that can happen anyway, even when you have strong boundaries. That sometimes it's unavoidable. It's information, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing that I've discovered that I think is crucial for myself is something called self-sourcing. So when I am around a lot of people or engaging with a lot of people, even via text, for long periods of time, I can start to feel depleted because I'm always reading into energy, always. And when I feel a little bit depleted, I have to go into a state of I have to be in my own energy. And that's how I can replenish myself, being in my own energy. In what it's called, like, to me, that I call it self-sourcing. So and that can look like needing a lot of alone time at points, depending on how much engagement you had, right? I need that. And but I think people can also think that this need for alone time means there's something wrong, like been conditioned to believe that there's something off with you, or you're somehow flawed in some way if you like to be in your own company, or you need that. It's like, are you depressed? You should be out there, you should be constantly engaging. Again, this idea that our worth is based on, what I mean, how popular we are, or how much we're doing, or how much we engage with people, or how busy we are, how productive we are. So for me, I had to really break through that barrier because most of my life I felt like there was something weird about me, because I preferred at times not to be at the birthday party, or I didn't want to do the swimming lesson or whatever, because I needed to be alone, because going to school for me some days was a lot. But then I think people who were well-meaning started to wonder if I had some kind of anxiety disorder or personality disorder, or I was something was wrong with me. And I took that there's something weird about me. I'm too introverted. I have to change that. And so for a long time, I tried to force myself to be more of an extrovert, but it would just drain me. And once I start to understand more of this, and I consciously, had I could define it in words that I could feel, but I didn't have the words for it. I didn't have the context. That's what I mean for it. I realized that I need alone time. It's how I recalibrate. It's how I release energy, other people's energy, any kind of like a residue that I picked up. And I think that's critical. And I think for different people, there's different modalities that can be very helpful as well. Besides self-sourcing, for me, salt baths can be extremely helpful. Yeah, because it purifies the energy body, right? It can help draw out this gunk or stuff we've picked up maybe during the day. Movement. If I want to clear my energy, movement, right? Because moving the body gets the energy pathways opened, right? Gets things moving. Wherever I'm holding constriction, right? When we think about where we're holding tension in our body, the energy receivers are constricted, they're closed, life force isn't flowing. So then there's modalities like, massage or body work, or just even stretching. Like, what I'm saying is you have to discover kind of what you need to self-source, and what you need to kind of assist yourself through this process. And what it really comes down to is, if you're going through a lot of this purging and this releasing density, you need a lot of nurturing. You need a lot of nurturing from yourself. And that means you've got to be able to go inward, and you've got to kind of check in with your body, and you've got to, ask yourself, what do I need? Or sometimes people even talk about, going inward and talking to the inner child, right? How can I support you? What do you need? from me? How can I care for you? Right? And so I think everybody's got different things, but I think you have to kind of, to get through this kind of some of the harder parts, you have to know what works for you. And you have to stop kind of looking for permission from the external to say it's okay to sleep for 12 hours, or it's okay to need to just spend the weekend alone. You're not going to get that validation from people who are not going through it, because they don't understand, and what they don't know. So they can't possibly give that to you because they don't understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
And ultimately you need to go inward and figure out what does it look like for me? What do I need? And then you need to be kind of like the parent to yourself, and you need to be able to give yourself that nurturing and a lot of compassion and acceptance. You have to be able to accept where you are. You know what I mean? Even it might not be where you prefer to be, but it's almost like, can you start to look at things and embrace things as they are and not as you wish them to be? Because when you're holding on to what you think it should be or what you want it to be, it can create a lot of resistance, a lot of tension, constantly kind of beating yourself up for where you are. And that can feed into this idea that I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy enough, or I'm not doing it right. And we don't want any of that. We don't want any of that. We want to just be able to, this is how it is. This is what I feel. And I'm going to allow for that. And I'm going to consciously participate with it in a nurturing way as long as I need to. And that could be a week. It could be a day. It could be 3 hours. Who knows? Right? Depends.
Yeah, because you gotta think about it. Like, you know, those are some excellent points. You know, if we're like, you know, just starting to get our body at ease, and we're just like starting to really get, you know, our thoughts relaxed, and our emotions are grounded, and you know, we just got into that state of like peacefulness. And then next thing you know, we're basically telling our being, oh, nope, we gotta keep doing better. Like we gotta keep going. We gotta do more. This isn't good enough. Like we're not changing. We're not doing enough to change and grow.
That's
we're
right.
not doing enough to be, you know, according to what this person is as spiritual, or you know, we're not as ascended as we want to be.
Right.
But then what that does is it gives off a signal to your nerves and everything else in your being that it needs to get back into, like, you know, fight or flight mode. It needs to get back into really driven masculine energy.
Yeah.
And also, you know, with what you're talking about, prime example of balancing both our masculine and our feminine energies within each of us is knowing how to serve, create, put forward energy through action.
Inspired action, yes.
And that's your masculine.
Yeah.
And then this is the side that I see quite neglected in society, is the feminine side. And the feminine side is
written out of everything. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's that ability to
go ahead,
allow yourself to decompress, to surrender, to let go, to allow yourself to receive nurturing, to allow yourself to replenish, and to allow your energy to harness again.
Yeah. And there's been, I think, it's the wisdom of knowing when is time for action, right? And creating and all of that good stuff. And when is time for rest and replenish. And I would say the theme right now for a lot of people, including myself, and wow, I'm resisting it too, is rest and replenish. We're in a time of nurturing. And if you think about even seasonally, right? If you look at Chinese medicine, the yin, right? Energy, what is that? it is kind of that receiving. It's the feminine, it's the nurturing, it's the it's like warmth, right? The yin. And so we're in that time right now where, now is time for stews and soup. And as we go into kind of, the fall and warmth and tea, right? So it doesn't
hibernation,
that's
self-awareness.
Right. That's right. A lot of people right now are feeling this need to come into that state. They need to rest. And if you're fighting it, it's just going to create more resistance. And then I think it's the difference between, that you're going no matter what. This is not up to you. This is not something mentally you do. This is something that happens on an energetic level, on an emotional level. It's beyond you. And you're going to ascend. If you're already on the path, you're going to ascend. You're ascending. It's happening. And you can either flow along kind of the river, or you can get, pulled down the rapids. It's really up to you, right? But you're going anyway. And I say that to people all the time. I'm like, well, you're going anyway. So how you go is up to you. If you resist and you want to hold on to stuff and you want to, judge yourself, and you want to, you're holding on to all these old constructs or old relationships, it's a big thing, right? You want to hold on to it. Well, you're going to get pulled with a force, right? To release it. Or you can let it go on your own and flow down the river, right? It's up to you.
Gosh. Yeah, it reminds me of a quote that I came up with because I was just really kind of pondering on this type of stuff. Yeah. I don't remember who I was talking to, but it was pretty much like just the realization of like the stereotypes that we have been conditioned to kind of autopilot and say that limitate ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking of like just a stereotype of how like in the healing process, it's like typical, for humans to want to become like how they were before
mm-hmm.
they
comfort.
went through whatever they went through. And I get completely why. I mean, I did it a lot throughout my life as well, that we would want to go back to how we felt before, the pain and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But then it's also like just coming to the remembrance that like, it's not about becoming who you were before that.
It's about becoming
like,
you.
And don't get me wrong, like, yeah, you were in a great place before that. But like, it's embracing the unknown of who you're becoming, knowing that who you're becoming is going to be who you were before that pain, plus a lot more.
A lot more.
And if we can start embracing that and like really taking in that type of vision, knowing that like, oh, like not only am I becoming who I was before the pain, but like I'm becoming a even greater version of it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's the certainty, right? It's we feel more comfortable in things that we feel are certain, things we know, and we're much less comfortable in the unknown. It's like, I know that I'm shifting, but I don't know what I'm becoming. I don't know what this looks like, and so that can feel uncomfortable. Well, it is uncomfortable because you don't know what it's going to look like, but you have to. That's where that piece of the, I think, divine trust or blind faith or something comes in, and you have to kind of let it go and allow yourself to kind of be led into, and really you're coming back into who you truly are. And that's always, as you said, it's always going to be so much better than who you were. It just will be more of that, more of the best will come out, right? But I feel like the thing that happens too with people is all of a sudden, when you're going through this kind of dropping density, this dismantling, relationships, jobs, interests, they all start to feel like they don't serve, or it's almost like you can't connect with certain people anymore the way you used to, or the job that you've been kind of spent years and years kind of building yourself up in your career, and now it doesn't fulfill you anymore. It doesn't bring you the satisfaction that you thought it would or that it used to. And certain interests, like you don't want to do things that are surface, or you don't enjoy things that you used to enjoy. And that can be very daunting, because it's like, and relationships especially, it's kind of, especially in partnerships, where one person consciously, and if we just think of it as energetically, one person consciously begins to kind of evolve, but the other person isn't yet, creates this divide. And then in order to connect, it's kind of like you got to kind of do this, but that will be very draining. It doesn't feel good, because it's a form of self-betrayal, kind of lowering yourself. Yeah. And so, right. And so that can be very, very difficult, because let's say you've been in a relationship with somebody, or even a friendship for years, and you thought that this was it. This was the person, or and then all of a sudden one day you wake up and you're like, I can't relate. I don't feel like I connect with this person anymore. They don't, and it's not even personal. That's the thing. We get caught up because we take it so personal. It's
not even personal.
It's resonance. So there's three, as far as I know, there's three states of energy in phase. So right now, Marcus, you and I and the audience, we're all in phase. We're able to be open, honest. It should feel comfortable, right? There can be an upliftment that happens when you come together you're in phase with. That means energetically you're resonating, you're on the same frequency. And then there's out of phase. So out of phase is kind of like where it's kind of like this, right? That can be an example. It would be, let's say you work with somebody, and it's not that you dislike the person. It's just that it's uncomfortable, like it's very small talk, and you can't really talk about certain things with them, because you just know that it wouldn't be received, or you would never, let's say, invite this coworker out to lunch, or you might see them getting on an elevator, and you might slow down to get on another elevator, because it's just awkward, because you can't connect in a meaningful way. It's just vibratory. It's nothing to do with the. And then there's antiphase, and antiphase is literally like when you just are around someone or something, and it's just like, this is not for me. It's a strong aversion. It's like, I just get a feeling I'm not comfortable. I need to leave, right? That's antiphase. So what's happening now is a lot of relationships are going through this dismantling process. It's not personal. It doesn't even mean that you don't love the person. It just means that energetically there's such a gap now that you can't connect in a meaningful way. And in order to try and bridge that connection, it usually means somebody's got to lower themselves or pretend to be something they're not anymore. And that self-betrayal starts to feel really, really, really uncomfortable. And so, right? And so, right, but we want to hold on to the comfort often, because that's our identity too. That a lot of times, let's say we're in a long-term partnership, we've become a unit. This is my identity. If I'm not with this person, who am I? So this can shake your life up. Dismantle things, right? And it can be difficult. And I think this is a time where I think people need community. They need support.
That's what community is all about,
right?
That's why
I don't think we're meant to do this. We're not meant to do this in a bubble. We're meant. That's why we're here together. We're meant to do this, in community, because we need it, right?
Yeah, and that's why I'm really grateful for the community that I have, Sacred Kingdom online community, and just being able to have access and connection basically 24/7 to other like minds and other self-aware individuals it's really everything, especially for me. I'm someone that I don't have much family in my life,
Mhm.
blood family, that is.
Mhm.
So I treat, soul family and others very much like my family.
Oh yeah,
So
me
community is a big thing for me.
yeah, I have
And
too.
to be a part of community and also host,
Mhm.
it means everything.
Yeah.
And to be able to see how effective it can be on shaping and shifting
Well,
life after life
of course.
quickly
Even
around
if
the
you
world.
just think
Ooh,
about the energy coming together, right? You create that container and then the energy comes together, the container gets stronger. But when I remember we were talking about the resonance, right? You're in phase and then you're uplifting, you're actually activating each other just
yeah.
by engagement, being in the community. So, we always think, again, like you were saying about that masculine, we always think we have to, it's got to be tangible. We got to be doing to be in our purpose or to be on the path. And I would say a lot of it is just being. It's not doing, it's being. Just being, allowing the energy, your unique blueprint to come forth, to embody more of that energy. And actually, Marcus, before I forget, I had that diagram about embodiment, the layers of embodiment.
Yep.
So I love this diagram. I feel like it gives some context. And this diagram is, this is Lisa Renee's diagram.
It's funny because I was going to bring it up, and every time I'm about to bring something up, you literally say it. It's so funny.
That's good. Yeah. We're on the same wavelength.
That we are. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up.
And so if you look at dimensionally states of consciousness, right? The incarnate level, right, is the personality level. So this is dimension, consciously it's dimension 1 through 3. So a lot of the collective is still in this incarnate stage. And so incarnate stage is kind of like survival. It's, my physical needs, are they being met? It's buying into a lot of this, prescribed way of living where, your worth is dependent on your grades and then what kind of job you have and then on what kind of house you buy and all of that sort of stuff, right? A lot of fear, there's a lot of fear, right? And a disconnection from the essence. Then as you start to kind of ascend up, right, into the soul layers, which is dimension 4 through 6, this is when you really feel that connection to something beyond you. You feel energy. You can, believe in kind of the paranormal, or you just have this sense of, you understand certain like things about natural law just naturally. And I think a lot of us actually come in at the soul level to some degree, where you feel the connection, you feel it, and this may make you feel outside of things, or like you feel things deeply, or it can make you feel like you don't really belong here, right? Because you're coming in at a higher level of dimensionalization or a higher level of consciousness. And then when you move from kind of the soul kind of embodiment level, you're moving into monadic embodiment. And that is really, I think, when you really start to, your gifts or your abilities can really start to come online here, where you're maybe more, very much more conscious with working with, energy, or you have more and more inner knowing, that process of gnosis where you just know things, or you start to, really transcend and really step into your DNA, into your gifts, into your abilities, things like telepathy, all of that stuff, which I think every human is capable of. And then you move into the avatar level, which is dimensional 10 up to 15. And I don't even know what that looks like. But so I feel like this diagram I find is helpful just to get a context for, the different stages And one thing that I do, and I mean, you could, people, I would invite you to do this, is to sit with yourself. If this is something you're interested in, sit with yourself and go inward and ask your higher self, where am I? Where am I at? Where am I at in the embodiment stage? Often when I sit with clients, I'll ask, and I get a number, which it doesn't mean anything. It just, sometimes it can give context for, I can relate better to the person in front of me, and I could explain things in such a way. But it's interesting. And so this also, I would say that when we look at people who are in that incarnate level, or they're locked into the kind of the negative ego or personality layers, if you think of it as, again, not higher or lower, even not good or better or worse or whatever, but if you just think about, people on a shelf, right? And some people come in and they're on, a lower shelf. And so from the lower shelf, their viewpoint, they can only see a little bit of the floor. That's all they can see. That's all they know. People on the higher shelves who come in, or on the top shelves, they can see the whole room, right? They have their perception they have a broader perception. They have more vision. They can see more of the room, more of, they can see more, they feel more, they're experiencing more because of their vantage point. I think this is all this is different dimensional levels have different levels of awareness, and they have a different vantage point, right? And there are a lot of people right now who are really entering into, I feel, the soul layers. Things are being unlocked, right, in people. They're really coming in, and they're starting. That's why I think there's so many people all of a sudden really drawn towards or looking for alternative healing, holistic healing. They're interested in understanding their energy body. They're interested in, the chakras. They start to kind of look for, information, and they start, going and exploring YouTube, looking for, so they can have context for what they're going through, right? And I think there's more and more people looking for that right now. Because there's no manual for this, and sometimes we feel it, but we just don't have the words, or we, in a way where our conscious mind can kind of understand what we're perceiving. And so I find like diagrams like these can be really helpful in just giving a bit of context.
Now, would you like me to pull up the emotional diagram?
Sure, yeah. It's I like this one a lot too. So this is just looking at emotions as frequencies, as energy. And so the very actual lowest emotional state is shame. And shame actually is more than just emotion. It actually has an affect to it, meaning that when you feel ashamed, it can actually feel like, you ever feel like it's like the pit in your stomach? It's got like an affect to it. It's very strong. So shame would be on the lowest of the vibration, the spectrum of emotions. And then, at the top, we've got, love and joy and peace and enlightenment. And then in the middle, you've got more kind of neutrality and willingness, acceptance, and actually, sometimes people can mistake neutrality, I think, for apathy, right?
Yeah.
But to me, they're two very different. If you look on this kind of, this diagram, you can see apathy is third up from the bottom, and neutrality is kind of moving up towards, kind of up higher towards the top there, right? And
yeah, I feel like, I was just going to say, I feel like apathy is kind of more like, it's like you're not aware that, the rejection, the unwillingness to feel what the other person is feeling is from a place of just not being aware that it is also you.
Right.
And then neutrality is like coming more from a place of, I know I'm connected to all,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not on me
Mm-hmm.
to control
Right.
this outcome or to control
Other
how this
people.
person feels.
Right. And to me, neutrality, I think, is really the term that I like, that I think encapsulates that, is being the compassionate witness, being able to observe and hold kind of, and, you know, we hear that kind of phrase, holding space, right? And again, it's kind of that neutral observer, right? That state of kind of allowing people to be who they are, and not feeling like you have to fix them, save them, change them, convert them, right? And just allowing people to be who they are and not taking it personal, right? Not making it about you. And then apathy to me can feel kind of, right? Because it's got that kind of, it's not charged. It's not particularly charged, right? But to me, apathy is a kind of when you've checked out and you just don't. Usually it's like I feel numb. It's a numbness. I don't really care. I don't really care about myself. I feel like I've just given up, right? I don't care about myself. I don't care about what happens to other people. I just feel numb, and I just kind of, I'm going through emotions, and I've checked out. I think apathy comes with a level of disassociation, right? And which can be a form of self-protection, self-preservation. When you're going through something, it's like, I can't endure this, so I'm just going to check out, and I become numb, and I become kind of apathetic to everybody and everything, right? So, but I think neutrality...
Yeah, that's an excellent way to describe it.
Yeah, but I think neutrality is actually, for the most part, I would say personally, is neutrality is where I strive to be as my baseline. Be neutral. Right? Be the compassionate witness. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like neutrality is a great goal for like all empaths.
Yeah, I agree. It's the best. It's the best. I think it's that way of, when you can be the compassionate witness, you're less likely to be absorbing others' energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you're also like still in the awareness that, you know, you holding the space and being is being a funnel of transmutation.
Exactly.
And when you keep that in your awareness too, in your mental awareness, that's very helpful too.
Yeah.
So then it's just like, I am just transmuting, you know, I am the violet flame. I am just allowing this energy to be purified, and it's just flowing through my being, being purified by love.
Yeah, you don't actually have to be doing anything. And I think the biggest thing is, for me, one of the biggest things that has served me well is allowing people to be who they are. And right? Oh yeah. Allowing them to be who they are. And then also there was one other one. I can't remember now. But something I'll always say is, if I'm going through a difficult time, I'm feeling like I'm not sure what I'm doing, or I feel like I'm stuck, or I feel like I don't know kind of what the next stage is, but I feel like things have to move or have to change, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. I literally will say, and I find when I say this out loud, it takes the edge off of it, and I'll literally say, basically, you know, I use God. I say, God, whatever needs to end, let it end. Whatever needs to come, let it come. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's kind of that state of surrender, where I'm just kind of saying, like, whatever needs to happen, let it happen for my greatest and highest good, or for everyone's greatest and highest good, and let me get out of the way with what I think I need, right? you know. And I find when I just say that, whatever needs to end, let it end. Whatever needs to come, please let it come, or let it be received. Kind of takes the weight of the world off my shoulders, because, you know, we always are in our head thinking we have to know everything and figure everything out. As soon as there's a problem, I just solve it. But this kind of takes some of that weight off, and it just allows for the clarity to come in, and you kind of get into a space of, I know when I know what to do, I'll do it. And when I don't know, I'll wait, right?
That's the state that I like to be in.
Me too.
That is where I try to keep myself naturally. Is in that type of flow state. And you know, it requires not only having your you know, your Ascension connection open or your crown chakra activated, but also it's helpful to be grounded and to have a secure anchor to the earth. You know, your root chakra, your earth star chakra. The more grounded you are, the more you can blossom your branches. So
that's
you can only fly as high as you can reach with your roots,
right,
as they say.
Well, what
and
is
a
that?
lot of us want to fly and ascend. But we don't talk about grounding and rooting. No.
Well, if you're not grounded, you go into, sometimes you can go into magical thinking, or people get, they think that impulse is intuition. Right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah. Because because if you're ungrounded, a lot of times people, you know, a lot of us, I used to have a real problem with grounding, because for a long time I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to participate. As a kid, I used to literally say in my head, I don't wish to participate. So I would float up where I felt comfortable, but I wasn't grounded. So then I wasn't able to, I felt kind of like disconnected, and I didn't want to deal with things, right? I didn't want to deal with things that were more like tangible things, like money, and I didn't want to deal with all of it. I still don't love all of that, but you know what I mean? I was trying to kind of escape it all. But I was kind of floating. I used to float outside of my body. I'd go around like that, where I was just kind of almost disoriented, where I couldn't really judge time and space. I felt like kind of loopy, like I was on like cold meds or something. And then I realized after like all those times I was kind of ungrounded, because I didn't want to be here. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel the world was safe for me to be in. So I would slip out, right? Yeah.
And during those type of moments, looking back in hindsight, what are some of your main keys of helpful tools that you would utilize if you felt that ungrounded?
Well, I used to, so I'll say, I used to work in very corporate jobs, right? For a good amount of time. And I would have a lot of anxiety in the morning when I was getting ready to go to work, because I didn't know what was going to happen, or what was going to be asked of me, or how long I felt like I didn't have any control. Once I went to work, I had no control over myself. That's what I felt like, right? And it would give me intense anxiety. I used to get it too, sometimes going to school. And I would be trying to get ready, but I couldn't focus. I'd even like be dropping things. I'd be, you know what I mean? I was spinning. And one thing that really, really helped me is just standing with my feet on, the ground. I didn't even necessarily go outside, and just close my eyes, take deep breaths to kind of calm myself down and kind of get the energy opening, even though at that time I didn't even realize that. And imagining those energetic roots growing out of my feet, or roots growing out of my feet deep into the earth. And then I would imagine that as I was standing there and my feet were being pulled down into the earth, like I would imagine that someone was trying to come up behind me and kind of lift me up from underneath, like my arms, like lift me up. But every time they tried to lift, I get pulled deeper. So then I would become unmovable, like a tree. And then I'd open my eyes and I'd be in my body again. Sometimes I would just say to myself, get in your body. You need to be here. And it would happen. It'd be like, you can't be doing this. I need you here. You've got to come back. We got to be here. We have to be here today. You know? And I could literally pull myself back in. But I initially started with the roots. And that helped me a lot for a long time. You know? Until it doesn't happen to me very often anymore. But it still does, and I'll still just intentionally stand with and imagine my feet connecting to the earth, there's a shielding technique. It's actually, to me, it's like energetic physiotherapy, and it's the 12-dimensional shielding technique where you, like you were saying, you connect into the heart of the earth. Yeah, and then you connect into the heart of the universe, and you multi-dimensionally ground. That one changed, honestly, that one changed my life.
I love that one. The 12D platinum shield
changed my life, and
we'll post it on the end of this podcast.
Yeah, because I actually don't think that I would be able to do what I do now, working with clients energetically and on the subconscious level, if I didn't have that shielding. And it's not even about protecting you. It's not about, oh, I'm afraid of the energy, I'm going to absorb it. It's about building stronger energetic boundaries. And it's to me, that shielding technique is energetic therapy. It's like energetic physiotherapy 101. And I do it every day. And I do it before I open up my day with clients. And I do it at night quickly before I go to bed. Right?
Yeah, it's not about it's not about protecting ourselves out of fear.
It's about strengthening your light body.
It's about strengthening, and also it's just really about being in alignment with intelligence of self, as in just knowing, like, okay, if I'm not sealing my energy field, and I'm empathic, and I'm also working on, some wounds that are very vulnerable right now, then that means my energy field is going to be susceptible to absorbing energies when I go out in public, or when I'm hanging out with people and other things like that nature.
Watching a movie.
And so therefore, the reason why I would protect my energy is because I want to protect this tenderness. I want to protect these vulnerable spots from becoming more damaged or becoming infected with other information or other energies. Or you just don't want to take on, other people's energy. So that's why you protect yourself.
Yeah, it's energetic hygiene. It's just like to me, the shielding can be a form of energetic hygiene, just like you have a shower, clean your physical body. Using the shielding is a way to practice that cleansing of your energy field, because it can actually be a cleanser. If you've picked up stuff, it helps release it once you do the shields. But also another thing I forgot to mention, when you're going through these embodiment shifts, so let's say you're moving from the soul level up into the monadic state of consciousness, when you're in between those states, there's a lot of density, there's a lot of purging, there's a lot of stuff going on, and you're very vulnerable in that state because you haven't fully grounded or integrated that new level of consciousness awareness yet. And so the in-between state is when you're very vulnerable, and that's where I think you can absorb a lot more in the in-between. And the in-between can feel really uncomfortable but you'll just know. It's kind of like you'll just kind of know somehow that I'm shifting, I'm moving up to another level, and it's kind of like as you do that, more density has to be dropped, and then that in between, vulnerable to a lot of absorption of other energy. Also, there are energies that don't wish for you to evolve, right?
Yep.
Right? And then that can feel like there's a lot, you can have just interference, feels like there's like, you know, chaos around you or something, right? So, but that's a whole other, I feel like that's a whole other talk, but yeah, but I would say, you know, if I had to just give advice, that I think when you're going through this, the nurturing, that self-awareness is key. Being able to give yourself the space to go inward is key, right? To figure it out, to feel it out, to untangle it. Because sometimes we feel very upset, but we don't even know why we're so upset. You know, can we go inward and just give ourselves the time to kind of untangle it and feel into it and get the clarity around what is it that I'm actually feeling, right? And where's this coming from? Right? And then I think along with that is that ability to take ownership, right? And have that level of self-awareness and ownership and taking accountability for how you respond to things or how you react to things, right? Owning your energy, you know, knowing that if I am super reactive, is that the kind of energy I want to be putting out into the world? Is that how I want to influence the energy of people around me through this kind of charge? Or do I want to sit with it and do I want to bring it down and then do I want to engage, right? And I think, again, you know, self-compassion, self-acceptance, self-nurturing is key. Self-forgiveness is key. When you know better, you do better. Also, you know, trying to forgive other people, or even just trying to understand where they're coming from. You know what I mean? Instead of judging, just understanding, you know, okay, so this person has done this or is acting like this. Why are they doing that? And trying to have some level of more compassion for where they're coming from. And you can do that if you stop taking everything personally. And that's the biggest thing I've had to learn, is to stop taking things personally. And I'll tell you something that I've encountered, and I don't know, Marcus, maybe it's not something you've encountered, but the more I embody who I truly am, the more people either really like me or really don't.
Oh.
Right? And it's not personal. Again, this is not personal.
Mm-hmm.
The more light you hold, the more, when people are around you, you can illuminate shadow aspects or things within them that they're not ready to look at or feel. And when you're around, you just start to draw them out. But it's not on purpose. And so people can be very averse to your energy, but you cannot take that personally. Because if you do, you're going to be, just everything's much more difficult, right?
Yeah, and it's going to pull you down into,
exactly,
you know, a lower density.
Yeah. And I think learning again what self-sourcing what does that look like for you? How do you nurture yourself? How do you take care of yourself? How do you give yourself what you need, and not looking for anybody to validate your needs, you know, and not comparing yourself to what other people are doing, and just honoring your journey. Your path is your path, and everybody's got a unique blueprint, and so everybody has these beautiful unique gifts, and you know, that means we all have a unique path, right? And I don't want to be like Marcus. I don't want to aspire to what Marcus is doing. I respect what you do, and I think it's great, but I need to do what I need to do, because that's what makes it so special, is because it's coming through my unique blueprint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so not kind of aspiring to other people and just kind of letting it unfold organically within you, because that's what you're meant to be. Right? Doing is what is uniquely you. And when we get caught up in it, should be like this, or I want to be like this, or I'm going to, you know what I mean? You lose the essence. And if I tried to copy you, Marcus, and say, I'm going to practice everything the way you practice it, I would lose my essence in there. And then what I was doing wouldn't be as powerful, right? Because it needs to come from within, right?
Then it creates a lot of situations where it can create, like jealousy and, idolization and
Gurus.
a lot of other things as well.
Other things, So.
But yeah, it's really beautiful, these unique blueprints that we all have.
I think so. And that's what we're here to, share. That's what we're here to unlock. That's what we're here to embody. And so I think you've got to just go in and allow whatever it is for you to be expressed, and not get caught up in all, it should be this, or I need to be this, or I need to look like this in order to be on the path. I would say that's not true. You need to
absolutely.
be who you are and be where you are.
And I also would have to say too, as we kind of come towards the close of the podcast, is, if you don't really know where to go next or where to start, or you're maybe a little lost on your path, the one thing that you can always do is focus on self.
Yeah.
You don't know what to do next? Do a practice. Do a meditation.
Go in.
Clear out your chakras.
Yeah, go in.
Do some deep programming.
They're in there. You already
Clear
know.
out belief patterns you're having. Address wounds, pains that you're having. If you don't know what to do next, you can always focus on these things right here. And I'm sure you'll find plenty to focus on.
Yeah.
And then you'll find that the more you just focus on being in present and balance and in harmony with your being, then the more everything just intuitively and naturally happens with you and for you.
I agree.
And
Marcus,
least resistance.
Yes. Would you say, Marcus, to people who say, I don't really know how to meditate, or I'm not really able to meditate? I tell people walking is a form of meditation. Driving can be a form of meditation. Movement can be a form of meditation. So, start where it feels comfortable for you. If you're like, I can't just sit there and meditate because I can't shut my mind down. Okay, then why don't you go for a walk and just try to be present with how are you feeling on the walk? Not what you think, how do I feel? And you can start to go into a meditative state. Driving, long drives can be very meditative.
Oh yeah.
In silence, not with the radio and stuff on, but just driving silently. I often will do that when I'm looking for clarity. I'll go for a drive, and just be with myself, be with my thoughts, and ask the questions. Another thing, ask for help. Whatever you believe in, God, your guides, whatever resonates, source, ask for assistance, ask for support, ask for guidance. Say, I don't know what to do here. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I don't, help me. Because I know with the benevolent forces, they will never intervene or infringe on your free will. So the more you ask, and even praying is the same thing. The more you ask and the more you communicate, the more they can assist you. Right?
Yeah.
That adage, give it to God. Sometimes you just give it to God, source, the universe, whatever, It can help. When I do that, it, like I said earlier, it lifts the weight. Where I feel like sometimes we feel like we're all alone and we have to figure it all out ourselves, but that's not true. That's not true. There are forces that we can co-create with who will partner with us, but we have to ask, and we have to communicate with them. Right?
Yeah. And that's why I love
yell at them. I yell at them sometimes.
that's why I love doing what I do with my show Rising with Raw. Is I educate people on a chakra for each episode, and I also do a spirit guide to connect with that chakra. So I like get to educate people on different spirit guides. It's really cool.
Yeah, and
my favorite thing.
Yeah, and I always feel like going to your higher self, your God self, always is there for you. Always, even always. So get in the shower. That's another way I meditate. I go in water, meditate. A lot comes to me when I'm showering. So I think it's all about just creating this space, to create that space where you can have that sense of, you can go inward, you can have stillness. So whatever that looks like, whether that's at the gym, that's in your shower, that's lying in your bed, that's going for a drive or a walk, it doesn't matter. It's just, you have to figure out what works for you, and then you make this space. Because if we don't make this space, it's very hard to get, if we don't create this space, it's hard to receive the guidance, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also, when we're getting into that space, that meditative type of space, try to optimize it consciously. As in, like, when you're in that type of flow, when you're in that type of energy and you're consciously aware of it, try to optimize what you're doing during that energy and during that space. If you're kind of like, boosting it with love, or if you're kind of allowing it to shine a little bit and spread, just really just being aware of how you're using that space as well.
But and I think also there's a time sometimes where there's different modalities and different practitioners that can assist you. They can't do it for you, but they can assist you in helping you clear, and helping you get the clarity, and helping you release some of these old distorted patterns and childhood stuff. And it's also, that can also be beneficial as support, but you've got to do the heavy lifting though yourself, right? No one can fix you. You fix yourself. And fix is the wrong word. No one can heal you. You are your own healer, right?
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing of it. That's the power that each one of us have, is the power to do that and to be that, because we are that. Exactly. And how much more loving could it be than to be reminded of that, and be given the space to even go through the process of remembering and going through some faults if we have to. I mean, like, how much more could we be loved?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Marcus, I gotta run, but it was great connecting with you again. And I think sharing kind of this space, and sharing some insight, hopefully people will resonate with it and can find it to be supportive. Yeah,
absolutely. I trust it will be. I definitely trust these airwaves will resonate with exactly who it magnetizes for. And thank you, Lisa. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy, your efforts, taking some time out of your schedule with all that you do and all that you provide to come have a sacred light conversation with me. I really appreciate it. And for everybody out there, where can everybody find you at, contact you, and be a part of your light?
Sure. So if you're looking for me, you can find me through my website, which is naturalhealingreiki.ca. And then on Instagram, I'm under, natural_healing energy work. Yeah, but through my website, if you go to the website, you can, all my information is there. You can email me, or you can text me or call me. And also through Instagram, you can reach out to me as well. I don't have online booking on my site. I kind of do it the old-fashioned way, and I kind of connect with everybody before. For new clients or new people, I connect with them before, and
That's how I am too, actually.
yeah, I like to connect first, and then I will book it together. I don't have like an online booking, so you have to reach out to me directly. And and I also have a meditation group that I do every Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock. That's on my website as well, and we do a lot of this kind of integration work and just clearing out the chakras and stuff like that. And I use hypnosis. I combine the hypnosis with the energy work, which I do because I have to, because it's the only way that I can kind of do it. Everything for me is energy first, and then the hypnosis kind of came in second. But yeah, it's a way to go deeper, I think, just with the hypnosis, kind of the deep relaxation and stuff. And so that's something
Yeah, it brings you more subtly into the subconscious,
into the theta.
That subconscious reprogramming state.
Yeah, and it's really good too for central nervous system reset. It helps bring the central nervous system back into a kind of a state where it can decompress it when you go into a state of deep relaxation. Plus, deep relaxation means energy receivers are open, and then we do the meditation, right? Which is, we want the receivers open. So yeah, so that's a way to kind of, I think, a way to connect with me if you're not sure, if you want to do maybe session work or something, but that's a way that, it's very accessible for everybody. Yeah.
Well, for everybody out there, thank you guys for all tuning in and being a part of this wonderful space on the Sacred Light conversation that we had with Lisa out of Toronto. And this was on shedding density. And along with that, there's many golden nuggets throughout it to help you become more self-aware of who you are as a multidimensional being, and how to be more holistic and conscious about your everyday approaches. Thank you guys. And don't forget to subscribe if you would like to be in tune with more episodes and more content. And feel free to comment and leave your feedback. Wholeness and balanced love.
Thank you for joining us for this conversation on the mothership. Be sure to contact Christolight to be a guest or book a service. You may also contact Sacred Guest Lisa for Reiki, hypnotherapy, addiction support and more.